Okay, so a lot of theories about Pokemon ReBurst have been popping up onto my Twitter and Facebook feeds and just being spread all around the internet. So for those of you who haven't seen it or don't know what ReBurst is, pretty much you get to fuse with Pokemon is the idea of it, and it's done through something called a Burst Heart. Now, the Burst Heart is in the Pokemon Sun and Moon logos. Not those logos, the Japanese logos, which is why this is actually getting really interesting. So if we look at it, there's like this little diamond thing that actually resembles what we see in the Pokemon ReBurst manga, which is just like where the Pokemon are kept. Now, the way that these burst hearts work is that it's like a Pokeball, but for people, pretty much the Pokemon is stored inside of that gym instead of the Pokeball, and then you put it with that Pokemon, then you fuse into that Pokemon. And the reason why this is seeming to be very significant is because with that being on the icon, you know, the little diamond-shaped thing that could be the Burst Heart, we saw this in Pokemon X and Y for the Japanese game titles as well, that we didn't see in the English game title, but it shows the Mega Stone right there. So people are thinking, alright, if this is, I think the biggest part is that it looks similar, but it doesn't really confirm that it necessarily is a Burst Heart, and I'm not really a big fan of this if it happens, because it's just weird that when you kind of break it down, fusing with Pokemon doesn't feel right, and the way that it's done is kind of awkward when shown in the manga, and like, I just want Pokemon to be about fighting things, not fusing into other Pokemon and taking it to a really weird and questionable level. And I think we saw this with Digimon, because Digimon had the bio-merging, and this really was awkward for me as a kid in my entire childhood, because your parents walk in the room and they see this happening. It kind of shakes their thoughts of what you're actually watching and stuff, because this is just absolutely way too freaking weird for me, and I don't want it in Pokemon. I'm not worried about fusing into my Pokemon, I just want to battle. I don't want to have any kind of crazy things happening where I merge with Pokemon. Now, the reason why this is starting to gain some traction as well as the theory is because of Ash's Greninja. We kind of see that Greninja takes on traits for Ash as a part of their bond and stuff, but according to the storyline and the lore for Greninja, this is just a really rare event that happens every 400 years or hasn't been seen in so long, because it's super rare for it to happen. But that's really interesting, because is this going to be a part of all trainers, or is this just Ash and his Greninja for the anime storyline? And then it starts getting really complicated. What about trainer customization? Are they going to put trainer customization into the game, or are they just going to give you some generic boy character that you have to relate with? And that could be a problem, because if you're trying to fuse with your Pokemon, that's about an exalted bond. That's about trying to get your personality traits and like take it to the next level. So if you have that happen with a generic character, it doesn't seem too great. But then what are they going to do? Give you a fully customizable trainer, that way you can get that full bond when fusing, and then they just like slap on some kind of lazy skin onto it in game? I don't know. And then what about battling? Like, how are we going to battle with this? Because we're effectively gaining the traits of that Pokemon. Do we throw ourselves into battle afterwards? Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And now there's going to be way too much going on, because you get one Mega, one Pokemon Burst evolution, 4 other Pokemon. You have to use Xerneas and Groudon on Final Destination with a Partridge and a Pear Tree, and I don't want Pokemon turning into that. So mostly it's just that this is seeming to make sense. Now, with the whole Greninja thing, I honestly don't believe in it. I don't think that the Greninja shares enough resemblances to the Pokemon ReBurst or Pokemon Burst evolution at all. And when we think about it, Pokemon ReBurst is not a canon manga. It doesn't have anything to do with the official Pokemon timeline and lore or anything like that. So that could be a good part. Maybe it's just going to stay separate. As for what the diamonds are doing in the logo, maybe it's just something fancy that looks cool on the logo to make it look all sparkly and stuff, and that it really isn't Pokemon Burst Evolution, because if that happens, Pokemon get way too silly, way too complicated. The competitive scene is already interesting enough as it is, and also why make something that you can't use in Pokemon battles that's only existing for the storyline that's as complicated as fusing with your Pokemon in a really awkward way? Hopefully we don't see this. I'm just trying to share, like, yeah, this theory is out there, and I really don't want it to be in Pokemon. So if you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a nice day, thank you for watching.